The two Ethels who went to D.C. on Tuesday. Ethel Chevlin and Eleanor Ethel Chevlin and Ethel Fischer. So I'm going to ask them now. First, I'm asking Ethel Fischer. She can open her mic. Are you getting the thing? Yep, there you go. And now, Eleanor Ethel, I'm going to send you a note to open your mic. And you're both on, right? Talk to me. Whoops.
No, Ethel Fischer is not on.
Try it again, Ethel.
No, I'm on.
I know you are. You're Eleanor Ethel.
Oh, excuse me. Ethel, you're not. You're still on mute.
Okay, now?
There you go. All right. So I'm going to go and close my mic down, and you folks go ahead and tell us what happened on Tuesday.
Well, Ethel, you're my senior. So if, whatever you would like to say, and then I'll talk, because obviously he's giving us enough time. So
all right.
I can start. You can start. Whatever.
All righty. When Rabbi first mentioned the prospect of going on the march, I was immediately rallied and wanted to go. When I mentioned it to my children, they questioned whether I could handle that kind of walk. So I asked, "How big is the walk?" No one gave me an answer. It's not that far. It's not that big. You could handle it. So I went on that, and I was highly motivated. Haven't done anything like that in a long time. And I felt the cause was really worthy. As it turned out, I expected to go by bus because this was what Rabbi's invite was, that there was a bus going from Princeton and we would do that. In the course of the plans, Ethel Chevlin gave me wonderful news that her son and daughter-in-law were involved with Federation and they were going by car, and that I was invited to join them, which was a great thing. I kind of looked forward to the experience with the bus and other people coming from different areas, which is a different kind of experience, but I don't regret that I accepted the invitation from the Chevlins to join them. Once we got there, the atmosphere was electric. However, it was mostly young people, which was wonderful to see. I would say that every yeshiva, every day school let their kids out so that they could participate in this. And the sense of electricity and excitement was very high, and you felt it. Around us, there were a few seniors. There was one lady who came with two poles, walking with poles instead of two canes. They were ski poles. I didn't see anybody else who was handicapped, fortunately. I had the benefit of a little assist from a very dear lady, Ethel Chevlin's daughter-in-law, who kind of held me under the arm to make sure that I wasn't going to falter, which of course never happened. The most important thing to me was to see that all sorts of practicing Jews were there and united. There was even a group that was from Christians for Jews, and Jews of all level participated in this. The Lubavitchers were there asking young men if they'd laid tefillin in the morning, and they offered to do that with them, and many young men did participate. It was a high. It was very successful. Hopefully, it helps with the spirit that we're going through, and Ethel has more to say too.
Thank you, Ethel Fischer. You're great. I'm proud of you. For me, it was a day when 300,000 Jews we're able to reflect upon our good fortune and express gratitude. May we all be blessed with a positive outlook on life. We started with the national anthem and then Hatikva. The speakers were sensational. Representatives from the Senate and Congress spoke with such emotion, and the crowd yelled back. Can you imagine 300,000 people with strong, good, healthy voices yelling back, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, maybe 20 times after that. We also had speakers, people who had come to America from foreign lands, who came on and spoke about how proud they were to be Americans. We had speakers who were waiting to hear from their sons and daughters. So obviously, all in all, it was a very emotional day, because you heard parents waiting to hear from their children, whether they're alive or dead. The joy and the ruach and the euphoria, I can't even measure it, because it was immeasurable. If ruach is like joy or happiness, I mean, you could not measure it, because it was unbelievable. To no one's surprise, the march was peaceful and free from any disturbances. We felt totally safe, whether we walked into a restaurant for lunch, whether we went for coffee, when we walked the streets, it was totally free from any disturbances. What was very exciting was you were told not to bring Israeli flags holding on sticks for whatever reason. So most of the young people had these gigantic Israeli flags that they tied around their neck, and it hung on their back. So if you try to picture 300,000 people with Israeli flags hanging on their back, so there was like a sea of penguins, but they were all covered with Israeli flags, and it was incredible. Jews of all levels were observed, and everyone was shouting, bring them home, 20 times, 30 times, over and over again. And also they kept saying, never again, never again, never again. Of course, you know, the four of us, we shouted just as well, and we sang and we cried. We you know what, we stood tall, celebrating our shared value for the sanctity of life. All I can say is our support for the state of Israel shows our Jewish people a lasting expression of hope for our people. And really, it was an experience that for me was most memorable. I will never ever forget it. That feeling that you can only feel being part of 300,000 Jews standing proud to be Jews, and really showing how we feel about what's going on in Israel and the support that's coming from this country. I also have to add that of the speakers, they were very, very effective speakers. We had Deborah Lipstadt, but I must say that the senior senator from New York, Schumer, he spoke from the heart, and all the officials spoke very, very well, but he spoke as a Jew from the heart, and he was incredible. He practically made everyone cry with the strength of what he was saying, and his words, and his love for Israel, and how much support we will support Israel till the end. We will never forget Israel. And that was wonderful, hearing from all the officials, the government officials. It was so freilich. Everybody was in such a good mood, even though we were there for a disaster. But the strength and the encouragement and the shouting and the flags and the yarmulkes and the tefillin, and you saw every level of Jewishness, from men wearing strommels Orthodox Jews, Chabadniks, all kinds of Jews walking around, and everyone, there were so many people, and it was a very, very huge area, but we almost felt like we were pressed together because there were so many people. We met people from Florida, from Boston, from Chicago, all came to Washington to be part of the 300,000 people. So all I can say is I thank my son Brian and my daughter-in-law, who I love dearly. Of course, I love all my 3 children very dearly and their spouses. But they outdid themselves. We were part of the seniors there, Ethel Fischer and this Ethel, and most of the people were young people. And thank God Brian was able to hold me up, and my daughter-in-law was able to hold Ethel Fischer up, and we managed to walk, I don't know, I would venture to say, from the parking lot to the field, to the eating, to back to the parking lot, to the washrooms. At least we walked 3 miles that afternoon for sure. And when we got in the car to go back to New Jersey, all we said was, thank God we made it, because we thought we were going to just drop on our feet, because it was such, and of course we stood for the 2.5 hours. All you do is just stand. There's no seats there, even though my daughter-in-law surprised us. She went over to a group of young kids and they found the bench somewhere. And she says, I have 2 senior citizens here. Would you mind standing up and letting them sit? And I said, no, you didn't do that. She says, yes, follow me. So 2 of us, Ethel Fischer and Ethel Chevlin, we sat down in the mall in front of Congress on benches, but nobody saw us.
Bench.
Everybody was standing. But if someone had a camera, that was very funny to see that both of us were sitting. But we got up and we walked again, and we stood again, and we walked again, and we had snacks again. And all in all, it was a day that for me will be with me until the end of time. So thank you very much. If you have questions, feel free.
Hold on 1 second before you have questions.
Thank
I
you,
wanna
Julie.
make
I see
sure-
Harriet Weiss, before I left, Harriet Weiss, who Rabbi knows, and all the people from Bet Shalom know Harriet Weiss. And she called me, even though she watches every Saturday, and she called me before I left, and she said, oh, I am so envious of you. I so want to go with you. I wish I was well. She says, and she wished me such good luck and good health and have a wonderful time. And we did have a wonderful time, and I appreciated her phone call. As well
There
as
you
Tybee. Tybee also called to wish me a good trip. So that's it, folks. I mean, there's a picture. I'm very proud of my picture. I'm very proud of my Ethel Fischer, my very good friend, and my son Brian, and my daughter-in-law. And it was a great day. It was a great. Look at the Congress in the back of the picture. It's a fantastic day, and the people were you were just very proud to be part of it. That's it, guys.
All right, thank you. We're gonna have a chance later to talk some more about this, but I have to say, since originally they said there were 290,000. That's what the press said. Then one of the other press, it went up to 309,000 or something like that. Never more than the 309,000.
Yeah.
310, I think. It turns out one of the Capitol Police said it was about 500,000. But the verstunkene press won't tell anybody that.
Eli, I have to answer you. My son, who was with me, and he's a smart guy. When we walked onto the mall and we wanted to get to a certain area where all the Jewish federations were meeting. So he was told to go to an area with a blue, and we had tags on our wrist to identify ourselves that we're part of Jewish Federation. And there were Jewish federations from around the country.
Right.
And he looked, and the way we were walking, he says, Mom, he says, they're predicting 300,000 people. He says, I would bet there's over 500,000 people here today. So
And
what you're saying, Eli, I'm kind of agreeing with you, because you could not move. You could not move. You just stood like sardines because there were so many people.
the press reports what they want to report, but the Capitol Police had to deal with. They were dealing with 500,000.
Yeah.
So they know what they're talking about. They do it all the time. The other thing is, it was completely peaceful.
Very,
It wasn't one issue.
nothing.
The next day, the Palestinian supporters, weren't that many, a few hundred, including Jewish people,
Yep.
were violent and hurt a policeman. The whole thing was illegal and it was violent, and they only arrested one person. Go explain this.
Yeah.
All right.
there's-
Well,
it-
I want to thank you
No,
for your
the-
report. That was excellent.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for going and representing us. Like I
Yeah,
said,
thank you.
we'll have
Yeah.
a chance to talk more in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit too. So after all, I get paid by the word, don't I? They only send me a check for every word I use. Anyway, so the march, as we just heard, officially drew between 290 and 310,000 people, but like I said, the Capitol Police say it was about 500,000. But we just heard the whole story. Thing was, it was unified and it was in support of Israel. But the exact count kind of doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, because it was clearly, whatever the number, it was the largest number of Jews ever in the history of the United States to come together. That is more important than any number you want to put on it. Anyway, we Jews don't like to number things. All we know is there were never more Jews in one place in the United States to come together for one reason ever since the start of our country. So I have a question. Did it do any good? Was Hamas so impressed by this historical turnout that they dropped their weapons and sued for peace? No. Was Hamas so moved that they freed the hostages? No, I don't think so. Did this turnout scare Hamas so much that they dropped their weapons, threw up their hands, and ran for their lives? Not a chance. So from this point of view of the attendance, this march of support of Israel was extremely successful if all you're talking about is attendance. But there is another thing that it did that was really good. And it's more important than any of those other things. More important, because IDF is handling the rest. But from the standpoint of what good it did, it brought about something much more important than anything I ever saw in my lifetime with the Jewish people. It delivered a badly needed victory to our fellow Jews all over the world. And what was this victory? Let me tell you. Whether it's 290,000 or 500,000 or anything in between, for that many Jews to stand in support of Israel at one time and in one place, that delivered the most badly needed victory to the people of Israel, to us, to all Jews. It freed us from the fatalistic fear that anti-Semitism is going to win. Up until that march, all of us were thinking about anti-Semitism, how dangerous it is. I'm afraid to go out. I'm afraid to be Jewish. I'm afraid to stand with other Jews. A lot of people said, I don't want to go to the march because they might kill me there. This ended that. Boom. It ended that groupthink that the Shoah was going to be returning any minute. It's helping us understand that our lives as Jews are not predestined. They're not. That fight, this is a fighting point, and it's pointless. We are not predestined. We know that every life must end in death, but we also know that death is not the reason for life. Every life ends in death, but death is not the reason we live. Many religions teach that the way we live our lives will determine our afterlife. In other words, we live in order to die. Makes no sense to a Jew, but that's how many religions live. If we are good in life, we will be rewarded in heaven. If we are not good, we'll go to hell. Some believe in multiple reincarnations, like the Hindus, where we come back as a cow or other forms of life until we are worthy to ultimately reach nirvana. Belief that our final reward or punishment is based on our behavior during life implies predetermination or predestination. Guess what? You won't find that in our Jewish faith or philosophy. It's just not there. This notion of fatalism is completely non-Jewish. Do we believe in an afterlife? You know what? We might or we might not. It's personal. The most important thing is that Judaism teaches that following the mitzvot and being good as a person in life is its own reward. We Jews do not worry about what's going to happen in heaven or hell. If you are told by a Jew that you will be rewarded in Olam Haba for doing this or giving that or it's making it up. Because, or you're being conned. There's nowhere in Judaism where it says that. In fact, one of the greatest things you get is if you honor your father and your mother, you're not going to be rewarded in heaven. You get a longer life. In this Shabbat's Torah reading, Esav comes in from the field. He's famished. He's exhausted. He thinks he's going to die soon. He's so hungry and tired. And he sees his brother Yaakov cooking a pot of this reddish thing, this whatever it is, this red stuff. He says, give me some of that red stuff to glom down because I'm starving. As we will find out later from his dealing with his father-in-law, Yaakov is an amazingly astute capitalist. Yaakov tells him that a bowl of red lentil soup will cost him his birthright. Does Esav complain? He thinks the price is reasonable. And he says, I'm at the point of death, so what use is my birthright to me? In other words, Esav was a fatalist. Why? He was a hunter. He lived each day knowing that at any time some animal could attack and kill him at any place, any time, anyhow, without him even knowing it happened. So he knew there was a possibility that he could die before his father did. With that fatalistic view of life, what good is a birthright to a dead man? This fatalistic view of life is what informed his decisions. He lived his life thinking, well, what are you going to do? Everybody dies of something. Well, that's true. But there's a much more dangerous form of fatalism. Esav's was personal. The more dangerous kind is spread to the world by the media who exaggerate the side with the anti-Semites and Hamas-like terrorists. They side with them. The media ignores Hamas's own slogan that Judaism loves life and Hamas loves martyrdom. Which one is fatalistic? Loving life or loving martyrdom? The terrorists are taught to believe that this type of fatalism is a strength. But the Jewish people know that this sick value is the most devastating weakness. The Jewish people have survived over 3,500 years because we love life. We love our children. We want our children to be better off than we were. The Torah tells us to choose life in no uncertain terms. It says in the Torah, I call upon heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your offspring will live. Doesn't say anything about you get rewarded after you die. No, so you can live. Hamas terrorists worship death, not God. This past Tuesday, between 290,000 Jews, maybe up to 500 or even more, 500,000 came together from all over the country. And we were blessed because Ethel Chevlin and Ethel Fischer went and represented us there and came back and gave us such a report. We all felt good. They showed the world that we Jews love life and worship God. We proved to the world and renewed it in ourselves as Jews to truly believe that Am Yisrael Chai, the people Israel lives. And with that, I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.